as soon as is practicable following the meeting. Everyone participating in the meeting will be accessing it from remote locations. Please could everybody ensure that mobile phones are switched off or to silent mode. Members will have received an electronic copy of the agenda. I will ask officers to present a summary of the key points. For the record, the agenda can be viewed on the Council's website. Members and officers will be speaking at various points during the meeting, and those speaking may switch their cameras on at that point. But I ask that, with the exception of myself as chairperson, at all other times you keep your cameras and microphones switched off, as this will help to minimise any background noise and interference and to ensure the connection remains as stable as possible. If any members or officers wish to raise a point or question, please press the hands up icon on the screen hand at the top right hand side of the Microsoft Teams window, and I'll come to you in the order I receive requests. Please lower your hand once you've finished speaking. Chat button has been disabled for this meeting and is disabled for all meetings. Please do not use your microphone until I invite you to do so. Officers from Democratic Services will be supporting the meeting and will be monitoring the use of microphones throughout the meeting, and where necessary will mute those not being used. We'll also ask officers to introduce themselves as and when I invite them to speak during the course of the meeting. Officers too should ensure microphones and cameras are switched off when not in use. So we will now receive any apologies for absence from members, please.
Mark Alvin, Senior Democratic Services Officer Committees. I received one apology from the Deputy Leader, Councillor Jane Gebbie, Chair. Yes,
thank you, Mark. Councillor Debbie's another council business in an adoption panel meeting. All right, so I haven't got anyone else indicating that they want to speak. So we'll now move on to the declarations of interest in accordance with the Members' Code of Conduct adopted by the authority in September 2008. Are there any declarations of interest, please? I can see that Councillor Smith has raised his hand. Councillor Smith, please.
Yeah, thanks. I think so. Company, it's been a recipient of the Warm Hub grants, agenda item number 5.
Right, okay. Sorry, you cut out then, Councillor Smith. Did you say you thought it was a prejudicial or personal interest?
I think it's going to be prejudicial on the basis that I'm a director of a KIC that's a recipient of the grant at agenda item number 5.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that, Councillor Smith. We'll note that. Councillor Bennett, please.
Thank you, Chair. I also note a prejudicial interest in that agenda item as an employee of the organisation that's administering the grants, and I will leave the room for that point. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Bennett. Are there any other interests? Councillor Winstanley, please.
Hi, I'm also an employee of an organisation and recipient of the grant as well, and it's not prejudicial, personal interest.
Personal interest. Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Winstanley. And of course, if any other colleagues have any other interests that they notice or realise during the course of the meeting, then please do not hesitate to indicate during the course of the meeting. I have a hand is apparently raised, but for some reason on my participants list, I can't see who has raised their hand.
It's me, I think, Chair. It's Councillor Steve Parker from Canelli Community Council.
Or Councillor Parker, please. Thank you.
It's item 5 of the agenda regarding warm hubs. It's a personal interest. My wife is an active member of the Canelli Warm Hub, and they've also had a receipt of a grant in that organisation.
Thank you for that, Councillor Parker. And that will also be noted. Now the next item on the agenda are the minutes of the last meeting of the forum, which took place on the 21st of November. Can I have a mover and seconder, please, that they're true and accurate record of that meeting?
I'll formally move, Chair.
So I've had a mover and I've had a
Second.
Thank you, colleagues. Everyone in agreement? Yes. In which case, we will receive our first report on today's agenda, and that is on the corporate plan 2023 to 2028. And that will be presented by our corporate policy and public affairs manager, Alex Rawlin. Alex, very warm welcome, and over to you, please.
Hello, thank you for that. Yeah, just for the record, I'm Alex Rawlin. I'm the Corporate Policy and Public Affairs Manager for the Council. I've been post for just under a year, and I will share a very, very brief presentation, if that's all right with you. Here we go. Just to take you really swiftly through the corporate plan, and then essentially what I'm here for today is to ask a sort of plea for your support really and advice on how best to communicate the corporate plan, both within town and community councils and within our broader community as a whole. We've got a draft communication plan, but obviously I want to take your advice on the detail of that. So we're replacing our corporate plan because our old corporate plan comes to an end at the end of March. We've got a new administration, we've got a changed operating environment for local government, and our wellbeing objectives felt a little bit tired, and we found last year with the new requirements on us to self-assess, they were also quite difficult to judge ourselves against. So the Future Generations Act says we have to publish a corporate plan, we have to set and publish wellbeing objectives, be clear how they relate to the 7 national goals, and demonstrate and measure how we will achieve them. Weird, it's now not moving on. There we go. So we've used lots of data and evidence to come up with our corporate plan. We've used our previous and existing priorities in the council, so our existing corporate plan and manifestos, partnership and partnership plans and national plans, so the programme for government, for example, and the Wellbeing of Future Generations annual plans. We've used evidence on council services and performance, so self-assessment judgments, budget consultations, staff survey and other consultations, as well as our regulatory inspections, particularly the ones that have got recommendations in them. We've also used local, regional, national data and evidence, so the PSB's wellbeing assessment, for example, the RPB's population assessment, work done by Sonar, done by NRW, sorry, and lots of other things, as well as other councils' corporate plans to pinch their good ideas. We've also done lots of engagement and consultation, so that's with staff through CMB, heads of service, our staff survey and our trade unions, with our elected members, so that started with an all-member briefing, went through CCMB, political groups, scrutiny, cabinet, and then finally council. Was it last week? Yeah, it was only last week. Also our PSB and residents through the budget consultation and the youth council. And that was through a 3-stage approach. We talked to people about the approach, and then we developed some draft objectives and talked to people about those. And then we developed a draft report and tested that as well. So all that research and all that engagement told us we need better coverage of the national goals in our corporate plan. We need a better link with the Public Services Board, with our health board, our police colleagues, etc. The focus and the audience should be different, so it should be a more residents first document. We should focus on responsiveness and communications. Members in particular wanted a short, accessible report with lots of infographics and diagrams. They were pretty keen on what the content should look like as well, and that's up there. And then in terms of review, they wanted a robust review process and a clearer performance management framework. So this is all sort of pages and cuts from the new corporate plan. It includes lots of information on our county borough, so starting there with the demographics. We then go on to talk about our resources, so starting with our money and our spending, telling people how much money we get, where we get it from, because that's been a bit of a bone of contention. So you can see there 42% of our budget comes from Welsh Government and less than a fifth comes from council tax. Then also this diagram here that members were particularly keen on trying to get across to people, which is about how much we spend per household on all of these different services. Information on our staff, so large organisation employing 6,000 people, where those people are working, and then just some nice pictures of them there. Information on our land and buildings, our assets, without which we wouldn't be able to do any of this good work. So a bit of detail there about the numbers of buildings. And then the real key bit, I suppose, is the new ways of working and the new wellbeing objectives. So these are the bits that we did nearly all of the consultation on, really, talking to people about how we should work, what should be our focus, what should be our priorities. And we've come up with these 5 new ways of working, which are better and more targeted use of resources. So that's things like Audit Wales have already told us we need a more long-term workforce strategy, for example. One council working well together and with partners. Improving communication, engagement and responsiveness. And then the last 2 there, supporting and empowering communities and protecting the services that matter to you most. You might remember at one point they were more talking about cuts to services, and I think people were keen that we really frame that in terms of protecting services that are the most important rather than making cuts willy-nilly. So those 2 last ones in particular have changed quite a lot during the consultation process. So they're the 5 ways of working. Obviously, the intention is that we'll have to define those, put in some projects around them, and potentially on some of them develop some performance indicators as well. And then moving on to our new wellbeing objectives. These are the council's 7 new wellbeing objectives, starting with a county borough where we protect our most vulnerable. And then a county borough with fair work, skilled high quality jobs and thriving towns. This 3rd one again came particularly from members. They wanted a geographically specific focus. So there's a specific objective there on a county borough with thriving valleys communities. A county borough where we help people meet their potential. So that one in particular is about education and skills. A county borough that's responding to the climate and nature emergency. Again, this was one that came from lots of different sources, particularly members, but also the Youth Council were very keen on this one. 6, a county borough where people feel valued, heard and part of their community. And finally, a county borough where we support people to live healthy and happy lives. So then under each of those, obviously, there's a lot more detail. So there's information on which of the council services will contribute to those objectives. Some information on commitments, so things we've already done, achievements and commitments for the 5 years ahead. And then I just wanted to tell you a bit about the timeline, because obviously this has now just gone to council and cabinet and council last week. It's out for design now, and we're planning the launch and communications from the week of the 20th of March. But we also need to develop a delivery plan to go into the real detail about performance indicators and commitments and how we're going to measure progress on that plan. And that will be developed between March and July and published probably in July. So that is about all from me. Essentially, as I said, what I'm looking for here is a plea for support. How do we best communicate the corporate plan? Particularly, how do we best do that through our town and community council colleagues? Thank you.
Thanks so much for that, Alex. Very helpful overview of the corporate plan. And now's the opportunity really for colleagues to ask any questions that they have on the report. And I will take hands now. And once again, I seem to have a problem in that I can see the hand function has been raised by somebody, but it is not telling me who. I can't.
Certainly. Hi, Barry Doughty has put my hand up.
Oh, Councillor Doughty, very warm welcome. Over to you, please.
I just thought that was a very, very clear presentation, which I've never seen before. I wondered if that presentation could be sent to me so I can present that also to the town council, because to give you the feedback and direction, I think I need some guidance as well. But I thought it was very good. But as I said, first time I've seen it.
I'm sure we can do that. Alex, can you confirm that, please, Alex?
It's the first time you've seen it. It's the first time I've done it. So I think you are the first audience for that presentation. So yeah, happy to send it on, or happy to come along, send one of the graduates along if you want us to do it for you and with you.
Thanks so much, Alex. Councillor Doughty, is that okay?
That's excellent. It's just I can do it myself because I think it was very clear and very simple and easy to follow, and to give you the feedback that you deserve. I just need the chance to look at it, and if there are any questions, I can ask you directly.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Doughty, and I'm sure that offer is extended to all our town and community councils if they wanted to have that presentation. Councillor Coles, please.
Yes, that was just a yes, please from me as well, please, for the Garivelli Community Council.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Coles. I can't see that anyone else wants to come in. Oh, Councillor Martin Williams, please.
Thank you, Chair. I was hanging back to give all of the town and community councillors the opportunity first, because obviously we've seen this in BCBC. You know, it's great, it's clear, and I think we all are broadly behind certainly the presentation of the plan. The ask was that we asked the town and community councils to help spread the message and to communicate this plan, but there was something in there as well about working in partnership, and this is a theme I've been on about for quite a long time, as you'll be aware. Is, you know, can we now reach out? Can we use this new plan as an opportunity to reach out to our town and community council to see how they can help us deliver, not only deliver the message, but deliver some of the services we have to undertake?
I'm sure we can, Councillor Williams, and that can be part of our work with town and community councils. I know there are very good examples right across the borough of where town and community councils, for example, have been part of the community asset transfer, part of the local nature network initiative, and a range of other initiatives. And I'm sure many of our town and community councils, all of our town and community councils would be keen to explore that. So yes, we can certainly pick that up. Councillor Jenkins, you're next, please.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. Just to carry on, and that obviously, as my colleague said there, but with the I can say interacting with town and community councils and the public in general, and we try to express the county's views along with ours, but we would need as an authority, I think, could you ensure that perhaps we get better response times for all the requests and applications the town and community councils make. Now, we appreciated that COVID impacted on us for quite 2 years at the very least, but we're coming back into a normal situation now, and obviously facing quite hard and difficult times. But the response times between town and community councils, that they have to wait for queries or having authorization, etc., is unacceptable, Leader. Now, you know, many lengths of time, and we as my stake have got a number of issues there that are going on for several months, which need to be resolved. But I'd just like to reiterate what I said. If you could have a word with officers with an emphasis, and I appreciate they're having a tremendous amount of inquiries and various other workloads they have to do, but to progress that that interaction between the two and make it an even stronger bond, it would be great if we could have response times far, far quicker, and so that we can work together faster and come to amiable solutions to the problems we are facing. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you for that, Councillor Jenkins. If you're referring to inquiries directed largely at the Communities Directorate, and I know that that would often be the most popular directorate for inquiries from the town and community councils. I know that Councillor Spanzik is part of this meeting. I'm sure he can confirm that there's been a major increase in inquiries, and that increase in inquiries and requests for information has not decreased since the pandemic. It has actually increased, and that is a difficulty for us because we have not increased the number of officers to deal with those inquiries. But I understand your frustration, and know we are looking at ways to try and increase the responsiveness. So thank you for flagging that up. I can't see that anyone else wants to come in. So can I have a mover for the recommendation, please? In the
I'll formally move, Leader.
Thank you for that, Councillor Granville. Thank you for that, Councillor Bennett. Is everyone in agreement, please, colleagues? Yes, so the recommendations been moved. You will, of course, have heard that offer from Alex. We'll get that report, the presentation circulated, and indeed the report in we'll attach that as well, just for ease of opening and reading by members of town and community councils, and that offer is there for us to go out and speak to town and community councils if you would find that helpful as well. And thank you very much, Alex, for your succinct presentation. And no doubt you'll be receiving some requests in from town and community councils, and can look forward to going up to visit them. So the next item we have on the agenda for us today is on the cost of living and the Warm Hubs initiative. And we have with us today cost of living coordinator and our employability Bridgend team, Maxine Barrett. So very warm welcome to Maxine, who will be presenting the report for us today. Over to you, please, Maxine.
Thank you. So as the leader said, my name is Maxine Barrett. I'm the cost of living coordinator for BCBC. I've been seconded to that role from my role in employability Bridgend. So the Warm Hubs are about, it was sorry, so the purpose of the report is just to talk you through what we did with the Warm Hubs and what's happened with the funding. The background to this is that the increase in energy prices has actually squeezed household incomes. So the cost of living has risen significantly, meaning that worse off households, those people who are unemployed, low incomes, lone parents, people from minority ethnic groups, children and young people, people with disabilities, women and social and private renters who were already spending a greater proportion of their income on food, housing and energy costs, have much less flexibility to meet those increased costs, and therefore are finding themselves in crisis. In April 2022, the domestic energy cap was increased, and that led the Welsh Government to estimate that up to 45% of households could be in fuel poverty and 8% of households could be in severe fuel poverty. So in response to that, in September 2022, the Welsh Government announced £1 million worth of funding would be made available to support communities to develop warm hubs or to expand warm hub provision. In October that year, in 2022, it was announced the funding would be distributed via local authorities, and our role was to work with local partners in the development and delivery of the warm hubs. Bridgend County Borough Council was awarded for £44,590 to support the warm hubs through a grant scheme, and all the funds had to be spent by the 31st of March 2023. So warm hubs offer a range of support, and that can include anything from basic refreshments and snacks as a minimum to more substantive meals, enrichment activities, exercise, cultural activities, the provision of advice and support services such as health and wellbeing, financial matters and digital accessibility. So the warm hubs are to provide safe, accessible, friendly, free-to-use spaces to help with the rising cost of living. And the Welsh Local Government Association set out the purpose of their funding in their warm hubs funding outline and guidance. And that was to utilise funding to directly support warm hubs and the people who attend them, and for any additional expenses associated with using a place as a warm hub. In order to make this, to understand where we were, a scoping exercise was undertaken across the county borough. We have very diverse communities, so it was agreed that we needed to look at each community or different communities individually. And so 11 meetings were organised, and efforts were made to invite as many as representatives as we could from community groups, town and community councils, community venues, the councillors, and third sector organisations, including Halo and Arwen, and these meetings were facilitated by me. The groups and organisations were identified as part of local intelligence that Employability Bridgend had gathered as part of our triage work, and we had quite a comprehensive data set, and this is where some of the information came from. And it was difficult to invite everybody, but we did try to make sure we covered as many people as we could in a very short space of time. The purpose of the meetings was to discuss the community solutions to the rising cost of living and to identify and capture information on the support and activities that are already available, because it was really important that we avoid future duplication, and we wanted to understand where we were to be able to build from that. The information that was gathered at these scoping meetings is now shared using circulation lists created as part of the scoping meetings. The information shared includes a weekly update of activities linked to warm spaces across Bridgend County Borough, and we felt it was important to make sure that we shared this information regularly, because the information gathered increases in value when it's shared locally by trusted groups and organisations. The same information is also shared directly with Bridgend County Borough councillors and with relevant services and networks, including the Public Services Board, Citizens Advice, schools, early help, probation services, multi-agency safeguarding hub, as many organisations as we feel would come across people who could benefit from accessing the information. The BCBC comms team were also able to create a dedicated link to the cost of living information on the front page of the BCBC website. Alongside the warm space information, there was also information about how to access food, including food banks and community pantries, and links to the financial support available to people, and links to information and advice the local authority can provide directly to residents. The funding was drawn down from the WLGA, and the agreement was made with the Bridgend Association of Voluntary Organisations, BAVO, in January 2023 to provide the administration of the funds. Decisions on applications have been made through a grant panel. The grant panel has been able to agree applications very quickly, meeting twice weekly since the grant fund was opened in January. Applications to the fund have now exceeded the amount of funding available from Welsh Government, and over 30 recipients have received Warm Hubs funding. Additional funds are being made available through BCBC's discretionary cost of living funds to ensure that eligible applications received to date are funded. The Warm Hubs have built on work already in progress across the communities of Bridgend. In every area, there are a variety of activities engaging local people, and the emphasis on enhancing and expanding existing community-led provision reduces the risk of dependency on the council and its services. The links between community groups in local areas have been strengthened, and this is helping to develop communication across local areas. Where this was already happening, community-led solutions have been quicker to implement and in general have been very successful. Sharing information and understanding what is offered across a locality also helps us to avoid duplication, and it offers individuals more opportunity to connect and help increase engagement in existing provision. Thank you.
Much for that presentation, Maxine, and all the work that you and colleagues have done on this. It's been very successful. Most of all, I want to thank the third sector partners, the charities, the community groups, the town and community councils that work so closely together with us to help get this help out to the people that need it most. It's been a very successful example of a really strong partnership. Okay, opportunity now for colleagues to ask any questions they have of Maxine, please. Okay, I can't see that there are any other questions at this stage. Right, I can see that a hand has popped up, so I will bring that colleague in now, and that is Councillor Evans, please.
Yes, thank you, Leader. This might be not necessarily around the Warm Hubs. This is just basically around sort of like this town and community forum in general. So, right. I mean, I understand there is an opportunity for town and community councils to suggest items for this agenda. Right. However, I fear that there may be a lack of understanding of that might be changes of clerks, new councillors, so on and so forth, on the criteria, deadlines and processes involved in order to propose the suggestions. Therefore, can we make sure that all clerks and town and community councils are aware and understand all the necessary requirements and criteria should they wish to suggest agenda items for future meetings? As I believe establishing a relationship with this tier of government is and can also be mutually beneficial.
I think that's a point very well made, Councillor Evans. There has been a big change in town and community councils since the elections last year. There's been a change in a number of clerks as well, I believe. So we will take that opportunity to remind colleagues of that opportunity to raise items that they would like to be discussed in this forum, because it is obviously a forum at which the County Borough Council has the opportunity to raise matters of shared interest and importance, but it's also equally important as a forum in which town and community councils have that opportunity too. So thank you for that. Is there anything that anyone else wanted to raise on the warm hubs and this report? The only thing I would add, as well as my thanks to the employability team in which Maxine sits, is just I was going to ask about next steps, because of course whilst we are thankfully moving into hopefully better weather, not quite yet, as there's a yellow weather warning in place, and of course we'll also need to look to next year as well. So the warm hubs for next winter, but that cost of living is a year-round theme, and whilst, for example, UK government have announced some additional support, we don't know the details of that yet. So of course the work of this initiative will continue. Councillor Granville wants to come in, and Councillor Williams, please. Councillor Granville.
Thank you, Leader. Well, you've just basically taken my questions. I was going to ask, is this going to roll over for the following year? Because obviously people can prepare early instead of catching up like we did this year. So I want really is a bit of a clarification for next year. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you for that, Councillor Granville. My understanding is that the lion's share of the funding was one-off. It was for this year, but we can get a confirmation of that. And indeed, if there are any early plans for next year, and I can see that Sue has indicated that she wants to come in, and Sue is the manager for the Gender Employability team. So welcome to you, Sue, and over to you, please.
Yeah, sorry guys, no good news here. Haven't had any news at all about the funding going forward, but obviously we are ready and waiting should the Welsh Government and the WLGA want to offer us any more. And we've obviously established good links in how we'd roll it out now, because obviously this is the first time we've done it. So, we learned a few lessons. But at this moment in time, nothing about the future. So unfortunately, but obviously we are like everybody else, this is the end of a financial year, isn't it? So maybe we'll hear something for next financial year from Welsh Government. So yeah, and I will obviously keep this forum. I will get in touch with Mark Alvin and tell him as soon as we know so that all the town and community councillors can be made aware.
That's great. Thanks very much, Sue. Councillor Williams, please.
Yeah, I mean, it was more of a statement really than a question, if that's okay. But it was really, congratulate Maxine and the team because it was put together quite quickly, and it was really pleasing to be consulted on, both as a local member, but also I know the town and community councils have been consulted on that, and made to feel partners. I think I'd want to speak for everyone, and it would be a shame if this is a discussion about money, because really behind that is a discussion about partnership. And I think there's an embryonic sort of thing here that hopefully we can, if not just push it forward in terms of warm hubs and activities and collaboration in that sphere, but is there an example here how the two tiers can work together across a broader range of things? But I just wanted to say well done, thanks.
Yeah, thank you for that, Councillor Williams. And yes, we will certainly consider the lessons learned from this model of partnership, as the feedback does seem to be positive overall, which is always encouraging to hear. Councillor John, please.
Thank you, Leader. Yeah, no, it was just pretty much along the same lines as Councillor Williams. Having met Maxine and been involved, I think the work she's doing and her team and her secondment is absolutely fantastic, and I think she's a credit to the authority and to the team that she's working for and heading up. Thank you, Chair.
Well, thank you for that, Councillor John. There we go, Maxine. You've got 3 compliments. I think we should quit whilst we're ahead now. I can't see anyone else wants to come in, and I certainly know. So, in response to Councillor Granville's point, which is a question, which is a good one, is what's happening going forward. I know, for example, because I took the opportunity to raise it with the chief executive of Arwen, that the model that they have in the libraries, that will continue, where people are welcome to go into the libraries, have a free hot drink, use puzzles, board games, and access other groups and initiatives. And some of these initiatives are not reliant on that funding. That's correct, isn't it, Sue and Maxine? And so a lot of these new initiatives, we're confident that at least some of them will continue, because actually what we found is that it doesn't require a huge amount of money. It is about really committed organisations, a lot of volunteers, and also organisations using the resources they've already got. So as I've used the example of libraries across the borough, those libraries are open anyway, so it's not a significant additional cost. In fact, the additional cost is very marginal, of say offering some hot drinks. There's no extra staffing or heating costs. So that type of model going forward, if we don't see additional funding, it is a more sustainable model, I think, and certainly what you tried to do with the employability hubs, I think again is a good example, because we've got employability hubs and we've extended some of those only to places like Kevin Glass and Hewlicue. So we've also effectively offered them up as warm hubs, but they're open anyway, and we've used the funding which we've used for the from the employability hub to maintain and extend that that type of provision. So do you want to respond to that point, Sue, and I'll bring Councillor Williams back in then.
Yes, a lot of the community groups have had equipment they didn't have before, because they've started to operate in slightly new ways. They've had maybe plastic cups and plates for children, which they didn't have previously. So they'll be offered, especially with the warmer months, maybe not this week, but hopefully from April. They'll be able to operate their group without worrying too much about high energy bills, because that was a big concern for so many. Understandably, a lot of us have been very scared, haven't we, about what these bills have meant. So going forward, a lot of these groups now have got equipment and kit, which they had to have because they didn't have it previously. And so hopefully they'll be able to use that and keep their venues open, and maybe without high heating costs, so that's the kind of immediate future. Longer term into next winter, as you know, that's a different kettle of fish, isn't it?
Yeah.
To think about that again for a minute, we don't have any money for that at the moment. Our own hubs, we basically got our own 2 employability hubs in Maesteg and Porthcawl, and we're in about 20 community venues throughout the week, visiting our clients and engaging with new people in those communities, and we'll continue to do that work going forward.
Okay, thank you for that, Sue. Councillor Williams, please.
Thanks, Chair. You said you wanted to quit when you're ahead, so I hope I don't ruin that now. But no, seriously, I think we just need to think very laterally as well. I mean, we clearly the weather's, notwithstanding what's going to happen in the next week, is going to get better. And I think I remember in the briefing we had with Maxine a couple of months back, it wasn't all about warmth. It was about loneliness and that sort of thing as well. And it just occurred to me, I went to a fantastic concert organised by Ynisawdra Community Council on Saturday night, which was a St David's Day concert. But in reality, I mean, you can look at it in one hand as that's just something to do, but it was 2.5 hours in the warmth, in the company of others.
Personal interest on item 5.
Because you're involved with the chapel.
Sorry, Chair.
I think we've got some to turn the microphones off.
But my point was, it was a concert, but actually it was also a warm hub in a sense, because it was a low cost event and a means of socialising with people. But I'll leave it there. I'm competing.
No,
I don't. Thanks. Sorry about that, Councillor Williams. We've got some.
It's quite all right, Chair. Quite all right.
Councillor Sponsick and Councillor Evans, I think you've got your microphones on, but I think we got the point from Councillor Williams about those other activities aren't necessarily labelled as warm hubs or whatever they have been labelled as, but just activities in the community for people to attend to to tackle that loneliness. And perhaps, Maxine, you've got some feedback from the groups about how effective it has been, not only in keeping people warm and providing some hot drinks and some sustenance, but also how it's helped people with their with the problem, well understood, of loneliness. Maxine, please.
It's been an amazing process, actually. I have to say it was a bit of a whirlwind, but I was really glad to, thank you for everybody who did come along, and thank you for the feedback, because what it has done, it's something that we are trying to do. And as you say, we had a focus on warm hubs in terms of funding, but exactly that, as Councillor Williams said, that warm hubs are a basis for much more. And one of the things that I'm really proud that we are achieving, and I would like to carry on, and we do it as part of what we do in Employability Bridgend anyway, is that link with communities and helping to develop that sense of local community, helping to build that back in, building those links. And I think that's something that we'd like to build on, because we may not know what's coming next in terms of funding, but we can certainly develop different strands of support that, again, don't cost anything, but actually have huge community benefit. And I think that's really where I'd like to see us take this information. We've gathered between us, and I say us because lots of people on here have fed back to their warm hubs information. We've gathered an awful lot of information about what already exists, what community venues there are, what activities take place, and we need to keep building that, really, because that's what helps us with our communities to really give them opportunity. And I think that's what we're all trying to do at this point.
Thanks so much for that, Maxine. Councillor Evans, please.
Thank you. I would just like to declare a personal interest on item 5, as the library at the moment is actually being held in the Salem Vestry of Pencoed Town Council as well. So I would like to declare that, please, a personal interest.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Evans. I can't see that anyone else wants to come in. So can I have a mover and a seconder for the report, please?
I'll formally move, Leader.
Thank you for that, Councillor Granville. Do I have a seconder? Can I have someone to Thank you for that. Is everyone in agreement, please, with the recommendations and note the report? Yeah, okay. Well, that was the final report on today's agenda. There are no urgent items, members, so I will now bring the meeting to a close, but I will take the opportunity to echo the point of Councillor Evans during the meeting, that this, of course, is a forum for the town and community councils, and if there are items you would like to flag and put forward for possible discussion, then we'd be more than happy to hear from you. And of course, we will send out a note to that effect to town and community councils to remind them of that. Oh, Councillor Jenkins, please.
Yeah, sorry, Leader. I know you have brought the meeting closer, but we didn't have time, actually. Obviously, we had correspondence, but it would be a remiss of me not to ask the question, if it's allowable with you. Just basically, it's on the Tondi roadworks, etc., and the traffic problems. The social media is getting quite aggressive on it, and the annoyance leading to frustration, and hopefully no more than frustration, but it may manifest itself in some other forms. Could you just update us? And I'm sure you are doing everything that is humanly possible to alleviate the lengthy delays, considering some of the social media reports, people are feeling like prisoners in their own homes, those that are living down by Lidl's, etc. But I'm more concerned with the Slimby Valley, as it's only one way in and one way out, unless you go via Port Talbot, and a detour, etc. So could you just give us an assurance that all possibly can be done is being done and will be done, considering this route in and out of the valley is likely to be interrupted for a number of months to come? And I apologise for leaving it late, but I couldn't put it in right in there to you in enough time. So my apologies.
Thanks, Councillor Jenkins. We wouldn't ordinarily discuss these type of issues in Town Community Council Forum, but I know that there's been a lot of interest in this, and it has caused disruption. So, for the benefit of other colleagues, Councillor Jenkins is referring to some works that Dŵr Cymru Welsh Water is undertaking to install a new water main in Tondi, and the disruption to traffic that has caused. We did actually suspend the works by Welsh Water when it originally started. The works are taking place at Maestig Road traffic lights junction in Tondi. The temporary traffic management system has been reviewed and queue lengths have been reduced, but they are still long. Due to the nature of the works, it's impossible to avoid clashing with peak times, but all efforts are being made to keep any unavoidable disruption to a minimum. We are liaising closely with Dŵr Cymru. We have asked them, and they are looking at accelerating the installation by working on weekends. Council officers have been attending at peak times to monitor the operation, and the traffic management contractor employed by Dŵr Cymru are undertaking manual control to assist with the traffic flow. So there is a lot of work that's currently being undertaken, and we will send out an update to all members to that effect. So thank you for raising that. Okay.
Thank you for your response, and thank you for allowing me that. Thanks.
No, that's okay, and we'll get something out to that effect later, Councillor Jenkins. So you've got it to share with constituents, because we know it's a very, very busy a junction that's affected. Okay, thank you all for your attendance, colleagues, and look forward to seeing you at the next meeting. Goodbye.